Okay.
Chapter 5. Episode 5.
All right.
Back, and hope you're having a good summer. Because this is the
Or
summer
winter.
session. No,
Well, it's our summer session in Canada, but it's winter in Australia.
all I know right now we're recording and pre-recording this. It's in May and it's cold.
Well,
It's been cold.
Well, it's the
been
end
cold.
of May and it's still cold.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, so when a business is growing but the founder feels more overwhelmed, what does that usually tell you about their operations? So, I can personally attest to this.
Really? How?
How? So, we're obviously in a growth phase and, well, it's interesting. We're in a growth phase and we're in an infancy phase in Canada. So when we landed in Canada last year, which was almost 12 months ago. So I landed here last June. For the first, 6, 7 months, we did research on
building
the
operations.
ecosystem, the environment, how businesses do things. We started going to networking events. I kind of wanted to see what the landscape was around. We started going to events within our local community. We just started, and we also did what was called a Starter Company Plus program, which is
The grant.
it was eventually led to a small grant, which is amazing, which we received. And we did this program, not because we don't know how to start a business, but I wanted to understand potentially those nuances that pertaining to Australia to Canada. We run very similar, but there's still a lot of differences. And Canadians are quite conservative when it comes to
Conservative?
Yeah, conservative. Who would have thought? To business. I'm not saying
It's so polite.
I'm not saying Australia is a renegade. It's just very, very different. The environment's very different.
Well, their conservativeness is very different. Their conservativeness is if you're not from the area, we don't do business with you.
Well, yeah, it's a conversation for a different day. But and so we only launched our business January this year, January 2026. That's when we pulled the pin and we're like, right, we're now officially in Canada. And so I guess, for us, we've been hitting the ground running since I landed last year. So burnout for me has been probably incredibly real because, we've been working 7 days. Now, yes, we've had the occasion day off and all of that, but probably since January, it's been almost 7 days because I have clients in Australia that I'm servicing.
We have meetings Sunday night.
Yeah, so our meeting starts
Saturday. We try to take off Friday, maybe Saturday.
Yeah, but we haven't for a couple of months now. Yeah, because it's just a lot of shit we've got to get done, basically. So, so burnout for me, and I get to that point where I'm just like, I don't know, my brain just like, no, I'm just so done. I'm not a crier. I don't get into, obviously, that kind of overwhelm, but I get into where I guess I have a bit of a wig out. And
no, what you do is you just get your PJs on, you go downstairs, you get on the couch, you
and I
put a
do
blanket
nothing.
in it, you turn on TV, and you have our bulldogs jump up on the couch and lie down with you.
Yeah. And I guess because we're talking about what does it tell you about the operations? Because if you look at overwhelm and burnout in a business, there's kind of a couple of ways you can look at it. For us, burnout necessarily doesn't mean operations, even though we are still working to keep refining our operations. So scaling is a lot easier, but some of
it is just because of timing. Some of it's because of time. Some of our projects, the things are hitting at the same time, or there's small changes, which to the customer, it's a small change, but
it's a massive change
it's a
for
big
us.
change.
Yeah, but it's also
when we're hitting these milestones all at the same time, so we have a lot of things,
moving parts
that are trying to shift gears between projects is, as you know, is not necessarily easy mentally because you're geared one way, and then to shift suddenly into a different mindset, different project, different things.
Especially if you're doing creative work too,
Especially when you're doing tech stuff.
And I think it's also like the one thing I've probably learned about this, and especially with Overwhelm and Burnout and all that stuff, is that, you know, when I landed in Canada, we had a plan of how we were going to do things, you know, and that first part of that plan was to chill out for a bit, and then, you know, we'll look at, you know, building a business here. But that actually didn't pan out that way. Not because we didn't want it, but circumstances around, obviously, work, business, opportunity, it all kind of crescendoed, and we had to pivot. So pivoting meant for us is that time out to recoup, I have never gotten, and I still haven't gotten, which is okay.
I didn't have it.
Yes, you did. You had like, oh my God, we're not even going to go there because Jeremy moved a month earlier.
Did not have it.
I'm telling you now, he did not work in that month or 6 weeks. He moved here prior. He was living it up with the fam, doing fam stuff, whatever. Okay, let's not go there because, you know, it's like the man flu, ladies, don't you think? No one's got the man flu like the man. Anyway, back to what we're talking about around burnout and their operations. I guess if we look at burnout pertaining to operations, it generally means you're doing everything within your business. And so the one thing I would encourage all founders is to look at, okay, especially if you have a small team, so whether or not that is a hybrid team, if it's, you know, you're utilizing VAs or remote workers or contractors, however it works for
Fiverr
you.
Or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's looking at with your team around, okay, what else can I delegate? Number one. Now, I am a big believer in delegation. I hate micromanaging in business. I've been in situations that it's been micromanaged, and I'm telling you now, your business will not grow. It just won't. You'll get to a point, there'll be a ceiling, and then with that ceiling, you'll be frustrated because your ceiling can't grow any bigger than that. So I would highly recommend you looking at what can I palm off to my team, number one. And if you don't have a team, what can I palm off to a low-cost resource? That's number one. Number two, I would be looking at, and I find this with a lot of founders, and I've been there myself, not this recently, but, you know, 10, 15 years ago, I was in this position around perfection. Okay, we have to get out of that mindset that everything has to be perfect. And so with my career started in fashion. And the one thing in fashion is that we had to look at, and especially when I was managing a vertical business for a company, and so I was the designer, the pattern engineer, I managed a small team, you know, we were producing, you know, I think it was like 60 new styles a month. It wasn't fast fashion, but we had, I think it was 12 to 15 retail stores. It was a very tight-knit, very lean business that ran very, very well. And the one thing I had to overcome was perfection, okay? And so it's kind of like that 80% rule. And what we did in this particular business is that if the client didn't know any better, it didn't affect the sale of that product. And if we were still able to get it here on time, we said, yep, it's good to go. And so looking at what you're doing within your business, especially around, you know, if it's materials you're creating, if it's, you know, a product you're developing, if it's a service you're providing, look at what that 80% is. Because I guarantee you, your customer has no idea what that is. They're thinking, I'm getting this amazing product and service. Little do they know behind the scenes, you know, you guys are like having a wig out going, oh my God, they're going to notice. What's going to happen? We're going to lose customers. It's the wrong color. They have no clue. So have a look at those things within your business around what is 80%. Because you will never, ever achieve perfection in business.
The other challenge as a founder is, especially with being overwhelmed, especially when you're neglecting areas of your business that are not fun, not sexy, but are necessary, like financials. Some people dread financials or budgets or that, but if you neglect those, it's like putting your head in the sand. You still have to go back and look at them and know where you're at. So the main thing is looking at what sort of systems you have in place and what are the things that need to move your business forward and making sure those things are running the way they need to be.
But it's also with financials. Like one thing, like I've learnt recently, because look, I'm one of these people that hate financials, hate my own financials, love everyone else's, hate my own. And it's not that I don't want to do the numbers. I literally, no. Shut up. It's not about doing the numbers because we've been doing the numbers.
It's about doing the formulas.
It's the formulas. I guess for me, it's looking in that bank balance, and literally every time I do, I've got like one eye closed and I'm like going, oh my God, do we have money? And of course we do have money, but it's just that fear of, oh my God, are we making money? And there are reasons for that, why I do that, but we won't go into it today. But one thing I've learned, and especially probably over the last 12 months, is that it's super important to understand those numbers. You may not, oh my God, and I've just forgotten what I was going to say around the numbers. What did you say before again? Just around the numbers and overwhelm?
Well, you need to, people avoid doing the numbers because it's not fun, it's not sexy.
Yeah, that's right. So I knew there was a point to it.
Gab finds the numbers sexy.
Oh my God, I don't find the numbers sexy. But what I was going to say around all of this is that, you know, if you look at it purely from a perspective that's not emotional. And so one thing I've trained myself to do over the year, and I still do this, it's like, I go, okay, I've got to put my business hat on. I literally do that motion of putting it on, so then it takes the emotion out and I just look at it for what it is numbers. And if I do that, then I'm able to look at, okay, if I don't understand the numbers or how we got to that, then I'll ask. Or I'll ask someone who can tell me or explain it in a way that my brain can compute it. And then for me, because I know those answers, then there's no kind of surprises at the end of it. Because I think why it's overwhelming is because you look at it and go, holy shit, we're at this, oh my God, what happens next? And then you get in that spiral.
I think also, if you're building a forecast and it's just wishful thinking, kind of stuff like this is what I wish it's going to be.
Yeah.
That's never good.
Well, you'll never ever grow your business.
More power to you. If that's the way it works and it works that way, great. But for the 99% of us out there, that doesn't work that way. Yeah. Building assumptions on how much you think things are going to cost and that based on real data. If you don't have the data, research it. Yeah. Find out what are costs of these so that you can start getting an idea, because what you want to eventually get is your budget and your actuals should be close.
Yeah.
Like it would be great if your budget for your sales is below and your sales are higher than that, the ideal thing. And then in your assumptions that your costs are lower than your costs in your assumptions are higher than your actual costs. Your actual costs are lower. Yeah. That's beneficial.
Yeah. But you won't know that unless you do the numbers.
Do the numbers and do it properly. To take the time to do it properly, because if you do it quick and dirty and it's not accurate, you're fooling yourself. Because you're fooling yourself because you're not going to get an accurate take on how well your business is.
But
doing.
It's not even about fooling yourself. You'll end up getting in that perpetual cycle of anxiety because you're wanting your numbers to be here and they're not reaching there, and you can't understand why. And the one reason is because your assumptions are wrong.
Yeah.
That's it in a nutshell. You want it to be this, but the reality is it's not.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if you're looking at overwhelm, and don't get me wrong, totally empathize with you guys. We know it's hard. We know it's exhausting. We know you're tired. We know as a founder, you know, you don't get a lot of support out there. The only thing I would recommend is take a step back, start looking and doing this in your business, and I guarantee you that overwhelm will reduce, because you know that what you have produced or what you've looked at and what you've redone is closer to how your business is running, and there's going to be less surprises.